And now, to introduce the mayor, please welcome the founder and chief executive of All Home, Tamika Moss.
Good evening. My name is Tamika Moss, and I am so honored to be with you all tonight. That video was so powerful. These Oakland placekeepers are why I and so many of us are proud to call Oakland home. As I watched that video, I was reminded of what it means to be of service to a place, to a community. The dedicated and passionate people reflected in this video and in this room are what it means to be of service. When you are of service to your community. You are grounded in working on behalf of those who do not have a voice. Recognizing that the only way that people and places thrive is when the most vulnerable among us are cared for and held. To be of service recognizes the courage that it takes to lead, especially when there are dissenting voices. Because your purpose extends beyond your own success. It's about your place. It's about your community. It's about your city. Like those in the video, I have been a public servant my entire career. Whether it has been in my role as a community organizer, organizing on housing and safety issues, working in criminal justice reform, or advancing regional solutions to address poverty and homelessness. I am inspired by people like our mayor, who have dedicated their entire lives to being of service. It takes perseverance, courage, passion, and some Oakland roots to be a public servant in this town. When you are the mayor of a city that is confronting some of the most significant social challenges of our time, homelessness, housing affordability, income inequality, being of service is actually a calling. Mayor Schaaf has never shied away from rising to the occasion and shouldering these hardships because she believes that Oakland is one of the best cities in the nation. Now, we all believe Oakland is one of the best cities in the nation. Whoop, whoop. Being of service requires you to see beyond your limitations and push through them for the greater good. And Mayor Libby Schaaf understands this better than most because she does it every single day. Dr. Martin Luther King said that the only hope today lies in our ability to recapture the revolutionary spirit and go out into sometimes hostile world, declaring eternal hostility to poverty, racism, and militarism. Now, more than ever, people want to divide us. Let's be clear. White versus black, citizen versus immigrant, rich versus poor, love versus hate. It is incumbent upon all of us to be in service to Oakland. Our city needs us all to come together if we are going to tackle what's ahead, because the road is long, folks. We cannot give in to what divides us. Mayor Libby Schaaf is a native Oaklander, born and raised in this town, and she knows what is at stake. And I know many of you have full confidence that she is up for the task, and she has the vision to move Oakland forward. it is my great and distinct pleasure to introduce Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf.
Thank you. Tamika, that was so beautiful. Actually, all of that was so beautiful. Welcome to my 5th State of the City address as your mayor. Our theme tonight is belonging in Oakland. And the state of our city is one of intense change and possibility. Now, our vision remains a vibrant, equitable city where everyone thrives and where everyone feels a deep sense of belonging in Oakland, to Oakland, and to one another as Oaklanders. Belonging is grounded in gratitude, so let me start with some. First, I want to recognize all those incredible speakers, Jackie and the Girl Scouts and Tamika and Ruth. You were amazing. If you are a faith or a community leader in Oakland, please stand up. You are fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Yes, stand up. Thank you. Next, I want to recognize my fellow elected officials, especially the Oakland City Council, whose partnership is so important, and our work together has been so dedicated. But we also are joined by some other elected officials, Malia Cohen. If you are an elected official or you work for an elected official, hi there, please stand and be recognized. Noelle? I also want to recognize our City of Oakland family. I hope you enjoyed that incredible video that really tried to highlight how city workers are placekeepers in Oakland. I have worked among you all for, it's going to be 21 years on March 15th. I've been a City of Oakland worker. If you are a City of Oakland worker, please stand up and be recognized. All right, and last but not least, I want to thank our hosts. Hi, Lori. The fabulous Oakland Museum of California, AMCA. And I want to note, I'm the 50th mayor. AMCA is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and they are doing it in an oh-so-Oakland way by breaking down the walls and letting the people in. Isn't this a cool way to celebrate your anniversary? So this is some of the fabulous changes you're going to be seeing at this museum. And I chose this as the location for a State of the City about belonging in Oakland, because this is a place that just exemplifies it. This is not like some static, dusty, old museum. This is just a feisty place of community conversation, of history and nature and art, where we re-understand our past so that we can forge a better future. We so appreciate the role that this organization plays, not just in culture, but in community. Thank you one more time. Now, I want to recognize that belonging is a sensitive theme, and I approach it with great humility. And I recognize that many people in Oakland are feeling a great sense of disbelonging right now. it is very important that we recognize the unjust systems that create that disbelonging. Because if we are going to remedy them, we must reckon with the fact that we as government have played a role in them. And there is no more poignant example than of homelessness. I believe homelessness is caused by 4 things. First, a failure in our mental health and drug addiction systems. Second, a housing shortage. Third, income inequality. And fourth, and most importantly, structural racism. Racist systems that have been permitted and perpetuated by government itself. Exclusionary zoning, predatory lending, redlining, over-incarceration, coupled with long-term discrimination in employment and housing, have caused unconscionable levels of homelessness and housing insecurity in our communities of color, and particularly with African Americans. That is the truth, and we must speak it. Oakland has seen one of the largest increases in homelessness over the last 2 years, 47%. And our point-in-time count, roughly 1 year ago today, more than 4,000 Oaklanders were homeless, roughly 3,200 of them unsheltered, sleeping in our streets. If we want to keep Oakland, Oakland, we must start by keeping Oaklanders in Oakland. So this is what we're doing about it. We have to start by taking people off of the streets and into shelter and services. And we're doing that with some creative, innovative ways, like our cabin community program. Now, this is a new place-based strategy that has allowed us to move whole encampments as a unified community into a safe community. And where our unsheltered residents can go to bed at night behind a locked door with their partners, their pets, their possessions, and something that traditional shelters don't have, privacy. And that is why we are getting calls from all over the state, from Sacramento to Riverside, to help other cities replicate this model. And that is because it is roughly half the cost of a navigation center. And yet we have far higher rates of people accepting this offer of shelter and similar rates of positive exits to permanent housing. We've also been increasing our kind of brick and mortar transitional housing and year-round shelters, starting with the beautiful Julia Morgan designed Holland Rapid Rehousing Center that we purchased last year, as well as converting what used to be just a winter emergency shelter at St. Vincent de Paul's into a year-round shelter with a special section for couples, daytime storage for possessions. And then I'm very pleased to announce a partnership with our neighbors in the city of Emeryville. At the end of next month, we will be opening Family Matters, a family shelter in partnership with our next city. Oakland also opened the Bay Area's first safe RV parks. We're about to open our 4th one of those. And we also have partnered with our faith community, the Interfaith Council of Alameda County, to provide safe car parking for families living in their cars. Now, this has been a tremendous amount of work. We have been very busy. Our staff have been working just overtime. And because of all that work, I am very proud to announce a tremendous accomplishment that in just 2 years, Oakland has doubled its shelter capacity. Doubled. Now, that would not have been possible without all of you. And I have to say, Oakland never fails to disappoint me when it comes to generosity. More than 200 individuals and organizations have, in partnership with us, contributed to different homelessness programs just in Oakland. Thank you, Oakland, for your generosity. Now, our next job after shelter is to heal and rehouse. Now, this is Oakland's measure of success, not just to shelter, but to actually move someone from homeless to housed. Oakland's measure of success is people like Prince Channer. Prince, who's with us today. Thank you, Prince. Okay. Prince came out to Oakland after serving his country in the United States Air Force, went to Howard and then St. John's on the GI Bill. He was so excited to land one of those tech jobs. He actually came out before he quite finished, but that tech job did not materialize. And he actually finished his college degree while living in his car and using free Wi-Fi from coffee shops. Now, I don't know about you, but that would get to me. The stress of not being able to find a job, not being able to find a house, not knowing where you were going to wash your clothes, led Prince to seek some help from the VA Center. And he got connected to Roots Community Clinic and their Turning Point Cabin Community on Miller Street in Noel Gallo's district. The fabulous navigators at Roots helped. They helped connect Prince to resources, and in his own words, he said the cabins were a place of solace where he could get his head together. And I'm so pleased, and we are so inspired by your persistence, that today Prince has a full-time job as a director of social media and is permanently housed in Oakland, where he belongs. Thank you for being here. You are an Oaklander. Prince is one of 880 people that City of Oakland programs helped last year to move from homeless to housed. And I am directing you as your mayor, the organization, and hopefully the whole community, that our #1 goal for next year is to double that number. All right, you with me? Now, our highest measure of success is to prevent homelessness. Nothing robs someone of a sense of belonging than the absolute trauma of being without a roof over your head. And that is why, when 4 years ago, we created the 17K plan to address Oakland's housing crisis, our first priority was to protect 17,000 low-income households from being displaced out of Oakland or becoming homeless. Now, we are only 4 years into that 8-year goal, but I have another great milestone to announce. And I recognize that we have much more work to do. But in just 4 years, we have far exceeded the 8-year goal. And we have increased renter protections for more than 40,000 low-income Oaklanders. I want to particularly recognize the leadership of the Oakland City Council. This council has written and passed laws and even ballot measures to strengthen renter protections, relocation rights, all sorts of things to make people be able to stay in their homes. They also have increased the funding for renter services so that we can provide more free legal assistance, as well as our fabulous Housing Assistance Center that helps Oaklanders find affordable housing. But the most impactful thing that has happened in this last year is a new statewide law that just took effect on January 1st. So go out and tell your friends. AB 1482 provided for the whole state of California rent caps and just cause eviction protections. And in Oakland, that allowed more than 19,000 low-income households that were previously prohibited from enjoying Oakland's tenant protections because of the state's Costa-Hawkins law to now be protected. And and just in case you wanted to know whether Oakland played a role in advocating for the passage of this law, know that Gavin Newsom signed the bill right here in Oakland. We have much more work to do. I know 40,000 sounds a lot more than 17,000, but trust me, we are not done with this work. We can recognize positive trends. And I am pleased to see that in the 4 years since we launched the 17K plan, evictions have gone down in Oakland by 36%. Now this year, we are going to build on the success of my favorite public-private partnership, and that is Keep Oakland Housed. Don't worry, Deborah, you're coming up. It was about 2 years ago that I went to the San Francisco Foundation and worked with them to raise $12 million from generous donors like Kaiser Permanente and the Crankstart Foundation. And we created an initiative to do 3 things to prevent people from ever experiencing the trauma of homelessness. First, free legal protection and free legal help for people facing evictions. Second, critical one-time financial help to pay back rent, utilities owed, that one paycheck away from losing your home, what you need to make up for that. And then finally, case management to help people, once they've received that one-time help, to actually remain stably housed. And that's just what we did for the fabulous Miss Deborah Ross. I hope you all got a chance to meet her. She was outside selling her fabulous hats. Now, I met Deborah before we even launched Keep Oakland Housed. She came down to one of my mobile mayors in deep East Oakland, and of course I had to buy one of her hats. I think it was like a Warriors Championship hat. It's got gold flowers on it. It is like bling. But one of the things Deborah didn't tell me when I met her was that she was struggling. And one day she came home and saw that 3-day eviction notice posted on her door. And this was a nightmare for Deborah, because before she had lived in this apartment, she had spent 1 year living in her car. This was the first apartment that she was able to have after that experience, and it made her able to also provide a great home for her 17-year-old grandson, who's also here, and to continue with her phenomenal hat-making business. Deborah needed less than $800 to stay housed. And Deborah, we are all so blessed that you are still housed, still belonging in Oakland, still creating your beautiful hats today. Thank you. Now, it was just last week that the Keep Oakland Housed partners, BACS, Catholic Charities, and East Bay Community Law Center announced our initial results. We are just a year and a half into this 3-year pilot, and I got to tell you, we blew all our goals out of the water. In just a year and a half, Keep Oakland Housed has kept more than 2,100 families. That is more than 4,000 Oaklanders in their homes. Another 17K milestone that we blew out of the water was our housing production goal. Is that an impressive chart or what? So we set an 8-year goal that we were going to build 17,000 new units in Oakland. In only 4 years, we have built more than 22,000. Now, all that, I say one person clapping. You're living in one of those, so that's why you're clapping. It's a cute place. Now, all that production is attacking the supply problem with housing. And again, data suggests that that production is doing what we had hoped it would do, and that is stabilize rents. And so you can see, since we started that production, rents have stopped going up. And many predict next year they will start going down. Now let me be clear, rents are at an expensive place in Oakland where the average worker cannot afford them. So again, we have much work to do, but this production is absolutely helping. And in other good news, I am pleased to say that we are back on track with our production goal around affordable housing. Again, 4 years ago, we set a goal of, by 2024, building 4,760 units of affordable, protected housing. And in the last 4 years, we have built 2,000 of those units. But now that we are up at this level of production of at least 800 units a year, we will surpass our goal by 2024. Now, to do that, we're going to have to get some things done at the state and regional level. So I'm going to look at my friends in the front row here. We really have got to bring back redevelopment funding. We have also got to, on a regional basis, create revenues for the newly created Bay Area-wide Affordable Housing Financing Authority that just got put into law also just months ago. That is our work ahead. I think we recognize that homelessness and housing security is not unique to Oakland. And that's why it's going to require regional, state, and even national solutions. Now, it has been my honor to serve as the Bay Area's representative on Gavin Newsom's Council of Regional Homeless Advisors. And that is why I am passionate to advance our recommendation that we amend the California Constitution and create a mandate to end homelessness. When something matters, we make it the law. Public education, clean drinking water, racial discrimination. And the mandate to end homelessness is superior to a right to shelter. A right to shelter, thank you for getting, oh, Jackie, hi. A right to shelter prioritizes taking the problem out of public view and putting people into temporary, undignified respite. We know that the measure of success in Oakland is getting people into permanent housing, and better yet, to prevent them from ever becoming homeless to begin with. A mandate to end homelessness would, for the first time, for state and local governments, create clear and legally enforceable responsibilities with regard to homelessness, and hold us as government responsible for meeting best practices and real results. That is why I believe it's time that the fifth richest economy in the world take responsibility for reducing homelessness until this travesty of human suffering is taken to an end. All right, we're going to shift now, and we're going to talk about safety and streets. Nothing robs someone of a sense of belonging than the horror of violence. And as long as even one life is ended, harmed, or even threatened, this must remain our highest priority. And while we will always have more work to do, we can recognize that the incredible trend, the incredible work of our law enforcement partners and our community partners in reducing gun violence. This last year, the Gifford Law Center published a national report naming Oakland as a case study in hope. They showed how our implementation of the ceasefire strategy in just 5 short years has cut gun violence in Oakland in half. That is worth recognizing. And this year, we will double down on a public health approach to violence reduction with Oakland's very first Chief of Violence Prevention, Guillermo Céspedes. Guillermo brings an international perspective and is passionate about ending all forms of violence, robberies, domestic violence, sex trafficking. And he is connecting us to an international community of cities that have been successful at reducing urban violence but want to go further. Thank you, Guillermo. Now, safety also matters on our roads. And nationally, we have seen tremendous increases in traffic fatalities. In Oakland, we lost 3 beautiful mothers just crossing the street. Since we formed our new Department of Transportation, we lovingly call them OCDOT, they are not waiting for the traditional long, expensive engineering fixes. They are putting interventions in some of our most dangerous intersections with paint and plastic bollards. And they're not only bringing safety to our streets, they're bringing joy. Last year, we launched something called Paint the Town that engages our phenomenal kind of culture keepers in traffic safety. We are allowing people to literally paint their own community-inspired murals right on the asphalt. One of my favorite is Scraper Ground in deep East Oakland. Scraper Ground is at the corner of 90th and Plymouth, a location chosen to honor one of the co-founders of the original Scraper Bike team. And it really captures the culture, the hip, spirit of our own original Scraper bikes that came right out of East Oakland and now are playing a tremendous role in leading the conversation about equity and active transportation in Oakland. Thank you, Scraper Bike team. And one of my favorite things we did last year, it's probably yours too, is we launched the Great Pave. Now, if you've lived in Oakland all your life, I don't need to tell you we have some raggedy roads. But just to give you a sense of how significant this is, I want you to put up a map of all the paving that the city of Oakland did in the 8 years prior to the creation of the Department of Transportation. This is also the year we started writing the Measure KK infrastructure bond. And now I want you to see what we're going to be doing in these 8 years. Can you just do the before and after one more time? Yeah. Pretty dramatic. This map not only shows just like a first in a generation amount of paving of our roads, but it also illustrates our first in the nation implementation of an equity-based paving policy, first ever here in Oakland. And that is, and that is we did not only look at road conditions, we combined that criteria by looking at the impacts of road conditions on our most vulnerable communities. And that is how we selected these roads. And in these 3 years we're in right now, we are going to spend $100 million paving 100 miles of roads. And thanks to this equity program, we will be bringing new roads into communities that have long felt neglected by their city government. Okay, I'm going to bring this speech home now. We're going to end by talking about what is the strongest contributor to a sense of belonging in Oakland, and that is arts and culture. This last year, we launched Oakland's first cultural plan in more than 30 years. And there are so many things that I love about this plan, but my favorite I'm going to share with you today is our new Cultural Strategist in Residence program. That means that we are taking artists and actually embedding them in city departments to work on government projects. That is kind of taking artistic wisdom and injecting it into the bureaucratic morass. And we in the Oakland Mayor's Office are so pleased to have Sabra Kashi, a filmmaker who's working on her own incredible documentary about her journey of immigrating from her native Iran to Oakland and living in communal housing. And she's working with Darren Renoletti, our policy director of housing security, on a project to promote more people to build ADUs. Do you know what an ADU is? It's an accessory dwelling unit. Does that sound like bureaucratic morass? All right, some people call them granny flats. But Sabra has gotten us to go from talking about codes and permits and units to home, shared culture, shared space. Thank you, Sabra, for all your beautiful wisdom. And we're using our downtown area specific plan to unveil, first ever in Oakland, cultural zoning. That means that we are using our land use authorities to actually incentivize and in some cases require vibrant arts and culture uses on our ground floors. That is what creates a sense of belonging in Oakland. Oaklanders love their arts, but we also love our sports too. Now, nothing creates a sense of belonging like rabid sports fans. And we do have to be honest that this was a little bit of a tough year for sports fans. Sorry, Mom. We said some pretty hard goodbyes, principled goodbyes, but hard nonetheless. But we also said some hellos. Hello, Oakland roots. Oakland's newest professional soccer team. And I could not be more thrilled than the progress we have made in this last year of keeping our own fabulous Oakland A's rooted in Oakland. Last year, we unveiled this transformative waterfront ballpark, and it is going to be exciting this year as we forge the nation's strongest community benefits plan, right, Taj? And, and we believe that in 1 year, we will be ready to bring this project to the city for approval. We are so excited by this vision. Let's go, Oakland! All right, well, thank you. Thank you for being here today to reflect together on this moment and to commit together as Oaklanders that we will not allow this moment to deepen historic harms. Rather, we will strengthen the sense of belonging for every Oaklander. Now, I know, Oakland, that you are up to that task because we are feisty, we are compassionate, and we are resilient. And most important of all, we are unafraid to create a radical sense of belonging. We are unafraid to be America's most unapologetic sanctuary city. We are unafraid to practice restorative justice. We are unafraid to celebrate our pride. We are unafraid to promise every child a college education. We are unafraid to declare that housing is a human right. And we are unafraid to show that Oakland is a place that celebrates and lifts up every rich, diverse culture that we know belongs in Oakland. So let's do that right now. Please join me outside. I'm going to hit the food trucks and the dance floor. And let us show the world that everyone belongs in Oakland. Thank you.